Hello, everyone. My name is Wayne Consalvo, and I am presenting on behalf of BAAS 3020 Team 2. Our research project is titled Generational Preference Disparities at Work. Our team members are Sarah Edwards, Queen Johnson, Adrian Williams, Christy Lynn Anderson, Art Martinez, Devanya Johnson, and myself. Our proposed study examines whether employees from different generational age groups differ in their preferences for remote, hybrid, or in-office work. We also examine whether those groups differ in their willingness to work beyond a standard 40-hour work week. The study focuses specifically on employees whose jobs are capable of being performed remotely or through a hybrid work arrangement. The purpose of this research project is to examine how employee age groups relate to workplace preferences, including flexibility, pay, overtime, and work-life balance. More specifically, we want to understand whether younger and older employees differ in how they prioritize remote work, salary, workplace flexibility, and their willingness to work overtime. This topic became especially important following the COVID-19 pandemic. Although remote work technology existed before the pandemic, working from home was not common in most organizations. During the pandemic, remote work became much more common and widespread. Afterward, organizations responded in many different ways. Some required employees to return to the office full time, while others kept their remote or hybrid work options available. These decisions can affect a company's recruitment, retention, employee satisfaction, productivity, and organizational costs. The practical question behind our project is how employers can design workplace policies that respond to a multi-generational workforce without relying on stereotypes. First, we turn to what past research tells us. Our literature review revealed several major themes. First, work values matter. Employees may differ in how strongly they value autonomy, pay, professional growth, meaningful work, flexibility, and workplace relationships, among other things. Second, remote work preference is not based on one single issue. Employees may consider productivity or comfort, flexibility, collaboration, communication, or management expectations when deciding where they prefer to work. Third, the research on generational differences is mixed. Some studies identify differences between age groups, while others find that the differences are small or inconsistent. This means we should be careful about assuming that every member of a generation shares the same preferences. Finally, life stage and career stage may explain part of what appears to be a generational difference. Family responsibilities, financial needs, occupation, management level, and organizational culture may also influence employee preferences. These findings support the need to study both the numerical differences between groups and the reasons behind those differences. So to recap, our primary research question is, to what extent do generational employee age groups differ in their preferences for remote, hybrid, or in-office work? And what is their willingness to work beyond a standard 40-hour work week among employees in roles capable of remote or hybrid work? To answer these questions, we determined that the independent variable in our study is the age group or generation. Specifically, the groups being examined are baby boomers, Generation X, millennials, and Generation Z. Then, the first dependent variable is preferred work arrangement, which may include remote, hybrid, or in-office work. Next would be our second dependent variable, which is an employee's willingness to work beyond 40 hours. This may include working longer days or evenings or weekends as needed. We also narrowed the study to company employees in roles that are capable of remote or hybrid work. Jobs that require employees to be physically present should not be included because their workplace options are fundamentally different. Next, we turn to our methodology. We propose using a mixed methods research design. The quantitative portion would use an online survey or questionnaire. The survey would collect demographic and employment information, including age group, role type, current work arrangement, preferred work arrangement, and typical weekly hours. Participants would also answer multiple choice and Likert scale questions about the strength of their workplace preferences and their willingness to work beyond 40 hours. The qualitative portion would include semi-structured interviews, focus groups, or open-ended survey questions. These methods would allow employees to explain the experiences, values, life stages, and organizational factors that shape their preferences. The final step would be to integrate the two forms of information. The quantitative data could show whether patterns exist across generational groups, while the qualitative data could help explain why those patterns exist. In simple terms, the design helps us answer both questions. Do the groups differ, and why might they differ? An example of a quantitative question might ask employees which work arrangement they would prefer, working remotely, through a hybrid schedule, or fully in the office. Participants might also be asked to rate their willingness to work more than 40 hours on a scale from 1 to 5, with 1 meaning very unwilling to 5 meaning very willing. Another question could ask whether they would consider leaving their employer if their preferred work arrangement were not available. The qualitative questions would give employees more room to explain their answers. For example, participants could be asked what experience shaped a preferred work arrangement. They could also be asked how their current life stage or career stage affects their view of remote, hybrid, or office-based work. Another question might ask under what circumstances they'd be willing to work beyond 40 hours and whether workload, flexibility, recognition, or organizational culture would influence that decision. The proposed study population would also include employees from all 4 generational groups who work in jobs capable of being performed remotely or through a hybrid arrangement. We recognize that our study will have both benefits and limitations. One major benefit of this design is that it combines breadth and depth. Survey data allows researchers to compare patterns across generational groups using the same measures. A larger sample may also help show whether the differences are widespread, relatively small, or potentially meaningful. The qualitative portion adds context that numerical ratings alone cannot provide. Interviews and open-ended responses may help explain unexpected results or identify similarities within generations. However, there are some limitations. Self-reported preferences may not always match actual workplace behavior. An employee may say that they are unwilling to work overtime, but may do so anyway because of job security, workload, or management pressure. Generations also overlap with life stage, career stage, occupation, and organizational culture. And because of this, it may be difficult to conclude that generation alone caused the difference. Interviews and focus groups also require more time to conduct and interpret, and the findings may not apply equally to every industry or organization. To better understand our conceptual framework, we have created this concept map to show how the main variables in the study connect. The primary variables include age group, preferred work arrangement, willingness to work overtime, and worker or employment type. However, we also identified several secondary concepts that may influence these relationships. These include work values, organizational culture, career and life stage, and employee well-being. For example, age group may influence work values, and those work values may influence whether someone prefers remote, hybrid, or in-office work. Organizational culture may also strengthen or weaken those preferences. An employee may be more willing to work additional hours when the organization provides flexibility, recognition, fairness, or support. The concept map helps show that generation may be one factor, but is not the only factor shaping workplace preferences. This research is important because it could help organizations make more informed decisions about their remote, hybrid, and in-office workplace policies. It could also help employers improve recruitment, retention, employment satisfaction, and well-being. Managers and human resource professionals may gain a better understanding of how workplace flexibility influences an employee's willingness to work additional hours. These findings could also encourage organizations to move away from a one-size-fits-all policy. At the same time, the purpose is not to label generations or assume that every member of a generation wants the same thing. Future research could focus on specific industries, compare workplace outcomes over time, or examine how policy changes affect burnout, engagement, productivity, and retention. Researchers could also study life stages and career stages separately from generations to better understand what is truly shaping employee preferences. And finally, these are several of the peer-reviewed sources that informed our project, including research on generational work values, job satisfaction, workplace attitudes, and remote work performance. Together, these studies helped us identify both the potential differences between generational groups and the importance of avoiding broad assumptions. Thank you for listening to our presentation. We hope this project contributes to a better understanding of how organizations can respond to the changing expectations of a multi-generational workforce.